and welcome to another episode of
Zeng This.
You got me, Zenger.
And I'm Ellie.
And as always, we're going to start off with some news.
Yes.
I'm going to say, you want to save the DC stuff for last, since that one had a big trailer and everything, and you know, all that. Well, there was a poster released last week that I kind of I saw it, but I did not get it in my notes, and I completely forgot about it. Dark Tower had the first poster image released, and it was very cool because it showed like New York-esque skyline, but it was flipped. And obviously, if you look at the negative space, the white in it, it forms I'm assuming what's going to be the tower in the movie. So I'm excited to see some more stuff on that, hopefully very soon.
And let us know if you guys have read the series. Just curious if you're excited and what you think about it.
Awesome. Yes, definitely a great series. Some other posters or images that got released were, of course, the ones for Justice League with little snippet clips, but we'll get to the big trailer they did at the end.
Big.
There was also Spider-Man Homecoming. I feel they were competing with each other almost.
Who can release the best images?
So they had 3 posters total of him with the Avengers Tower in the background and one in the background and 2 of them. Then on one of them, he's actually on the tower, like hanging onto the A. So that was pretty cool to see a little bit more of that.
Oh, the sign, the street sign?
Yes. And then we also got a better look, of course, at his, I guess, pre-Stark outfit, possibly. They released an image of that.
The homemade costume?
Yeah. So that was very cool. It still has the eye shutters on it, though, which I'm like, really? You put work into that?
Yeah.
So that was cool. All right, so we'll get to the trailer at the end for Justice League.
I saw Beauty and the Beast, and I loved it.
Okay, just rip that Band-Aid off real quick.
I'm sorry.
So, quick review of it, then.
I really did like it. It seemed to be a little bit more sinister at times than the original cartoon, which, I mean, obviously a cartoon is different than a movie. And definitely noticed that they were trying to be a lot more up-to-date culturally with some topics and some ideas. I guess trying to make it more trendy as far as what people of today would be okay with. And I loved it. I thought it was great, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more coming out in the future.
You know, I had a thought on this after we had this discussion on the last podcast when we were discussing that Disney, wanted to remake all their movies into live action eventually. And I mean, of course, it would take time, and I mean,
Correct.
Who knows they're going to truly be able to do all of it, but here's the thing that interests me is you would say that this is not something like if you were, you had a child and you wanted to introduce them to Beauty and the Beast, you'd probably show them the cartoon first,
right? I would
right?
most definitely have them watch the cartoon first.
But if they were like a teenager or a little bit older...
Are you talking about whether I would still do it first or not?
You'd probably, after they saw those ones, you'd probably introduce them to the live action
ones.
Right,
yes.
So see, it's a way for Disney to continue for you to have several movies to grow up with then, I guess. I mean, I guess that's what they're going for.
And it was so artsy. Like... the colors and the shots, and it was very well done. And they added new songs too.
Ooh.
There was new songs that are not in the original cartoon, and in the original cartoon they don't really get too in depth with they don't really at all. Belle's mother's backstory, and they have backstory for Belle's mother in the movie, which was neat for people that are fans of the original series. It was something new for them.
I also heard that the witch or the person who puts the curse on the beast is a little bit more involved in this one.
She is.
So because I mean, it's just kind of a mention thing. It's like, oh yeah, she put a curse on him, whatever.
Right.
So,
but no, you actually see her several times throughout the movie. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think that's a cool thing if they do them that way, to where you have the cartoon is sort of when you're growing up, you watch that. Then once you become like teenager, preteen, somewhere in that area, you watch it then, and then of course the cycle will repeat when you have your kids. You do the same thing.
And I did want to mention too, really quick, the casting for Gaston was perfect. Like if I could pick somebody to play his part, it was very well done. I thought the casting in this movie actually was pretty decent. LaFoe was hilarious. Just his mannerisms and his overall attitude was funny. I thought Belle was decent. She did a good job. So I was happy overall with the movie, definitely.
I don't know if you've seen it or not yet. One of my coworkers actually posted this to me. Was the Deadpool version of the Gaston song.
Oh my gosh, no.
Yes, I was about to say, you can definitely look it up on YouTube, but there's a Deadpool version of the Gaston song, and it's actually really funny.
I will definitely be checking that out.
So that was great that they posted that to me.
That is awesome.
To check out.
Yes.
Enough having fun with just random chit-chat on stuff.
We love to talk.
Exactly. But on the on the topic of movies, did you see the Assassin's Creed movie?
I have not.
Well, you might not have to now.
Oh, why is that?
Because there might be a TV series coming out now.
Oh.
And it's possible that it will be being done by Netflix. I'm going to point out right now, because there's about to be about 3 or 4 more mentions of a said company.
You know, they really should pay us.
We are not in any way affiliated, sponsored, or have anything to do with Netflix at the moment. So we just wanted to point that out, because the following discussions will be very heavily on certain things that Netflix is doing.
Yes.
So it's possible that's going to be on Netflix. So that would be interesting. I'm hoping they might go for a little bit more Game of Thrones.
What do you think?
Game of Thronesy, maybe.
Do you think they would start with Ezio and work their way up?
What if they could do it to where different episodes revolve around different characters and just kind of just skip around?
Yeah, they could.
It would be interesting.
There has to be some kind of consistent timeline for people not to get too confused.
I think they could do it. It would just be like how they juggle characters in like Game of Thrones or, Westworld or stuff like that, to where they can juggle characters. Not spoiling anything for Westworld, but that obviously deals with multiple timelines all at once. So, I'm just saying, who knows? I mean, the movie apparently did not do the best, so hopefully maybe a TV series is better suited.
I know, see it.
Me too, but maybe a TV series would be better suited.
Maybe.
So, sticking with Netflix, Death Note trailer got released.
I'm intrigued. There's not enough in the trailer yet to make a full opinion, but...
Well, here's my question to you. Since you're a bigger anime fan than me, I know of Death Note, but I've never watched it. Maybe that's something we need to do before it comes out, but have you really seen that much of Death Note?
I've seen about half.
Okay.
Which I will go finish now, because I know that there is the movie coming out.
And maybe before the movie comes out, we could have a discussion.
Well, yeah, and
on it.
What I've seen so far, I'm kind of surprised that they could get that done in a movie.
Who knows?
I mean,
maybe this is just part 1.
It's possible. You're definitely right. So I'm just kind of I think we should discuss for a few seconds our show that we like about 7 Deadly Sins.
There you go.
So they did release the 4 episode, like we've talked about before. And I can't remember. Did you say that you think it's a in between, or did you say that it is? They're bridging. Season 1 and 2.
Well, this is technically season 2, but they're bridging the 2 arcs. It seems like. Okay. Like this definitely is kind of.
You've read the manga and I have not.
Some of it, not completely. I didn't want to get too far ahead, but it seems like they kind of did this to, I guess, see how popular it was, or just get something out there, let people know, hey, we're working on stuff. Okay. So I mean,
I'm okay with that. But when they released the 4 episodes, I'm like, what?
It's got some good stuff in it still. So I mean, it definitely has something to hold you over, but it does set up for a huge next season.
And I did start Iron Fist, but I've only done 3 or 4 episodes, so.
Well, let's get caught up on that before we discuss that too much. Yeah. Sticking with Netflix, they released another trailer that I am really excited about. Mystery Science Theater 3000 is going to be coming back. It's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be coming out in April. I'm really excited.
Felicia Day.
I'm really excited for the cast. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. That show for me when I was younger, and of course the movie, I love the movie.
Right. Oh,
They did such a phenomenal job, and I think that a lot of stuff now, I'm not pointing out anything, but if you've been on YouTube, I'm sure you know of, certain channels that obviously take homage from that.
Right.
Of kind of the mockery of movies. I mean, it's not the most original thing in the world to do, but at the same time,
it's still always funny.
It was just so funny to do, and I'm just excited to get that back again and get all that snarky commentary on bad bad movies that you should never watch, except for if you're doing it with two robots and in that situation. So a final Netflix mention. You mentioned in a previous episode the Knights of Cydonia, which was a Netflix exclusive anime. Apparently, the people who worked on that, the studio that worked on that, is doing a Godzilla one, and they released like some images, but not of. I don't think I saw any of Godzilla, but that looks interesting.
I do like Knights of Cydonia a lot. It's very interesting.
So can you just imagine that, but with Godzilla then? Yes. Apparently,
it's kind of cool. I can see that.
So that's going to be cool, and I'm assuming that's going to be a Netflix. It might be Netflix involved. I didn't look into that too much, but
right.
But who knows? So that was definitely cool.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time for us to discuss. We're definitely excited, a little bit more excited about now. Justice League. Yeah. I mean, forgetting that, of course, there is a Wonder Woman movie that's supposed to come out, but I think that the trailer is very promising, in my opinion.
Yes.
I want this to do good. I know I bash on DC. And
I want it to do good too.
And I want it to do good. And I mean, who knows? I
mean, the cast, the characters, Cyborg and Wonder Woman.
My only complaint, I know some things other people have said, Cyborg is a little kind of smaller than he is in a lot of the renditions. But who's to say, like, he doesn't get upgrades at some point during it and gets a little bit more.
Maybe they don't want to show everything.
Yeah, I mean and like I said, if that's the biggest complaint I have is, oh, Cyborg's a little tiny. I'm used to him being, done where he's a little bit, beefier and everything. But at the same time, he probably wouldn't look right beside them, especially Jason Momoa, because I mean
I love Barry Allen.
Jason Momoa looks awesome as Aquaman. They had him in the armor and everything. They had him with the, well, I guess it's not a trident. I mean, it is still his trident, but it's got more than 3 spikes on it. So that was very cool. I love the quips that they had. So hopefully they're trying to bring some fun to this with all the quipping. There was Barry Allen talking to Bruce, and he goes, "So what's your superpower again?"
Being rich.
I'm rich.
Yes, I'm rich.
And then there was the part where Jim Gordon was talking to Batman. He goes, "Oh, I see you're, playing nice with some friends again," and Aquaman's like, "Dress up like a bat, I can dig it." So I was like, see, that's fun. I like the quippiness. It's fun.
I think that there's a time and place for quippiness, and I think for comic book movies, certain ones especially, it's okay. There's other movies I've watched that I'm not going to mention that I don't care for the amounts of quippiness that is in it. I'm sure it'll maybe come in a discussion later. But I think for this series, it's okay to have it.
All right. Well, we've read a graphic novel.
Yes.
And we've watched a movie.
Yes.
So I guess before we get into that, do you think I should make the announcement now or at the end?
Oh, we'll do it at the end.
All right. Well, there's an announcement about this segment on the podcast, and we think you guys guys and gals will be very excited about what we have to say about it. So with that, I guess we're going to do the graphic novel first.
Yes.
What did we have everyone read, and what did we read that we're going to discuss?
So the graphic novel was Doctor Strange: The Oath. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the movie is Doctor Strange.
Yes. Now, we're going to be discussing, of course, The Oath first. I'm going to say it's a standalone. You don't really have to know anything about Doctor Strange, what's going on in the Marvel Universe at the time, really, to pick this up and read it, which I really enjoyed because... Right. I mean, before seeing the movie, I've read stuff with Doctor Strange in it, but I've never really bought anything or gotten into anything that's just exclusively Doctor Strange.
Okay. So, I have, but yeah.
So when I got The Oath, I was like, cool. I want to read this. I know it's standalone, and we also bought the newer one that Jason Aaron's doing, but that's something for another day.
Yep.
And I enjoyed that it was its standalone own comic. Like, you don't, like I said, no, don't have to know what's going on. Just know that he can do magic, and it kind of gives sort of an origin story.
It does.
It gives enough of an origin story
enough, exactly.
That if you're not familiar with it, you'd be, it's just kind of a recap if you are familiar with it enough, and it's, enough of, hey, here's his origins real quick, just so you're aware, because his origins kind of play a big role in certain parts of the graphic novel.
Right.
And I know that you said that you liked the part at the beginning of it.
Yes, I absolutely love the way it starts. Without saying it word for word, you basically have two heroes that are, sitting in a waiting room at a doctor's office. And it's funny how they're just chatting. They're talking to each other. And
one of them is Iron Fist, yes. Which I thought was a nice little touch that he was in there with he pulled his hamstring, wasn't it?
Yes, he has like a thing of ice on his knee and on his leg, and he's talking about his hamstring and she's, I can't remember what her name is because she's like insignificant in my mind, but she basically is like joking around about how she got hit with mace, and she's like, not the old lady mace, but like the medieval times mace. And it was just so quirky and just awesome.
It was a nice way to break the ice on what I think it kind of at times can be a very heavy story that was followed up with. So that was nice, and of course,
they come bursting in with Dr. Wong.
Wong is carrying Dr. Strange saying, my master's been shot.
Yes, and they're like Iron Man and
Iron Fist.
Sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry. Iron Fist and the other girl, they were just like, whoa, is that who I think it is? So it was just, I love it. It was
so
great.
They meet the night nurse, and we're not going to go over this beat by beat. No. We just kind of need to establish, the characters that are going to be being discussed. And there's 3 main ones for the good guys.
Yes.
And of course, they meet the night nurse who helps, get the bullet out of him, get him patched up and everything. And
she's known for working on
superheroes and everything.
Yes.
So that's definitely interesting. During that, he's using his astral form to sort of not only he's backseat surgeoning,
right,
while explaining, sort of giving
Did you just make up a word?
Yeah, probably. Okay. Take a whatever, mark it down. Surgeoning, yes. So, surgeoning, the act of doing surgery when you're actually not the surgeon.
Yes.
There you go. I made a definition for it too.
Instead of back seat, he was astral seat.
Surgeoning.
Yes, surgeoning.
So, and like I said, it gives kind of a brief recap of his origin, which is cool. And Wong, it's pointed out, and I guess if you haven't read it yet, we're sorry. We're going to kind of talk about some spoiler stuff in this because it's very essential to the story for us to discuss.
There's something wrong with Wong. Let's just say that.
Okay.
We don't have to say exactly what
there is something seriously wrong with Wong that is pointed out.
So that's why Doctor Strange is in the position that he's in.
Yes, and also at the same time, that's why the night nurse goes with the two of them, because he's injured still from having been shot, and she goes with him because Wong isn't in a complete condition to fight.
Right, and she basically, wants to go with them so she can kind of...
And have an adventure, too.
Yeah, of course. So she wants to be their in the field nurse, so to speak.
So I thought it was really cool how the magic, I think, worked very well in it. I mean, like I said, I'm trying to get more up to date on Strange, but I liked the way the magic worked. It was very woven in there.
Yes.
Into the story, and
they bring up I think we need to discuss for a minute how was Doctor Strange able to be shot? Because he is this sorcerer supreme.
Yes, he is at this course in the story. He is the sorcerer supreme at this point.
In the graphic novel, he is, and we'll discuss the movie later. But so you're thinking, Zenger, how is a normal person able to shoot a sorcerer supreme? How is that possible?
Well, the gun that was used was actually Hitler's gun and contained a ton of...
Walther P-38.
Yes, contained a ton of evil essence.
Yeah.
So it apparently...
Negative energy.
So that was a cool concept. And like I said, I'm not 100%... I'm starting to read more Doctor Strange, but that's kind of cool how it was a mundane item for like anyone else to pick up.
Yeah.
But to a sorcerer or to somebody of magic... It's something that can affect them more because it had so much negative energy connotated with it. Yeah, so that was definitely a cool touch with that.
I thought that was very cool.
So that was definitely, and he's of course the person who shoots him is
Brigand.
Yes.
Yes. And
who was hired.
Hired, and I don't know if we want to reveal. I don't think we should reveal who the bad guy is necessarily.
Yeah, we'll have a quick little spoiler section. So
the Brigand is like this gun for hire, and he's a thief, but he basically is hired by this unknown mysterious baddie to steal this elixir that Doctor Strange got in the hopes of helping Wong.
Yes, after Wong informed him of his ailment.
Yes.
He went and got this elixir from a god of another dimension.
Yes.
And they were planning on using it to help Wong. But there's a complication to what this elixir can do, so that's why they didn't do it immediately.
Yeah, and we're not going to talk about that right now. But this elixir can do some stuff.
Yeah.
And when other people kind of find out what it can do, that's why this mysterious person hires somebody to steal it from Doctor Strange. And then that's kind of where we get to the middle of the comic book.
Yes.
Graphic novel.
I guess since we're here, we're going to discuss like just some more stuff about like what we read about it, and then we're going to get into more of spoiler things at the end of this. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you said that you're a little bit more familiar with actually reading Doctor Strange prior to this. How did you feel about this story? Did you feel it was something that's like, let's say someone is listening to this and they're like, oh, I'm interested in this. You know, you being someone who's read some of it, me being someone who has not. How do you feel about just picking this up?
I was okay with it. Some of the other stuff I've read is more of his specific backstory. Mm-hmm. Like it is his origin story, basically. So this was nice for me because I've already read his origin story. So I liked the way that this kind of jumps right in. And like I said, it gives you a little bit of a beat of like the origin story, but it kind of goes right in and it's more of an individual adventure for Wong and Doctor Strange instead of, just continuing on his backstory, if that makes sense.
Yes, it definitely does.
For me, I liked it. But like I said, on the other spectrum, if you're new to Doctor Strange, then it's great too, because it gives you enough, what I would even say for a new reader, I would almost maybe start with something like this, because you can read it, and then if you're really interested in going into details about his backstory, and
you can get one of the other graphic novels that goes into a little more depth, or you can, go into possibly the current run on it, which is pretty interesting on that. But we're not here to discuss that one right now.
Yeah, so I think it's a good starting point.
Just real quick before we get into the spoiler section of it at the end, discuss that. Artwork I thought was really well done. It vaguely kind of reminded me of more classic, more like Golden Age, Silver Age. Yes. Not completely, but kind of like an updated version of Silver Age comics. So it's definitely, I enjoyed the artwork from it.
Yes.
So it's definitely, as we said, we can definitely recommend it. So if you haven't read it yet, definitely go out and do it. If you're interested in hearing some more about it, stay tuned. But we're warning you that the next portion will be spoiler heavy, because we're going to discuss more of the plot, the overall themes, and stuff like that involving the characters, and it's some pretty big spoilers coming up. So you've been warned, and spoiler section starts now. All right, so I'm just going to get this out there real quick. Wong has cancer.
Yes.
A very
brain tumor.
Yeah, very vicious. They said too that it's
it's a very aggressive form. Yes.
Yes, and the elixir he gets can cure anything.
At first, he thinks it just can cure cancer.
Yes,
but it can actually cure any ailment that anybody has.
So that's interesting, because he just very needs a drop.
Well, and it brings up the whole God complex.
Exactly.
Should you destroy this? Is this something you should mass produce? And being that he's a doctor, he's got that underlying
Hippocratic oath.
He's like, I'm sworn to protect and to heal people, so how can I not give this to every person? So it's very hard for him, because he wants to help his friend, but he also feels like he has a duty
to help everybody.
Yes, exactly.
Another thing, and this is just kind of, I guess, it's never really stated in there to the best of my knowledge, but I guess I'm going to kind of reference Star Trek real quick. I think this is the first time we're referencing Star Trek on the podcast.
Probably.
So, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few is the quote that, is normally said by Spock or, one of the characters on there in several of the movies, I remember, if I remember correctly. But that's the situation here.
Yeah.
Do the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few?
Well, I mean, at this point, clearly he could do both.
He could, but
he could cure and help Wong, but it doesn't become that way. Exactly.
So, I thought it was very interesting when they finally got Briggon, and he's like, "Oh, you know, the guy who sent me, you know, put a ton of magical charms on me." I thought that was really cool that Doctor Strange is sort of like, "Okay, whatever, I'm just gonna go into your head then."
Right.
And when he's in there, you kind of almost find out who might be behind this because Nightmare and Dormammu appear. But is it really them?
Right.
Because Doctor Strange makes a statement to Dormammu about another character saying his brother, you know, your brother, when it's actually Dormammu's sister, and he points out that Nightmare rides a black horse. So I thought that was a nice little way to get some characters in there that, you know, people who are familiar with Doctor Strange would be like, oh man, oh my gosh, are they behind this? But at the same time, and
you'll hear of Dormammu more in the movie one too.
Yes, so that was a little cool little nod for, I guess, fans that have read it before. Like, I'm aware of who those characters are, so that was kind of cool for me. But I wouldn't have known it from the cues there. Correct. So when he said that, I'm like, oh.
It was a nice nod to existing fans.
Exactly. Yes. So the main villain in this, we're in the spoiler territory, so we can discuss him.
It's Nicodemus West.
And why is that important for the origin of Stephen Strange?
Well, he is one of the surgeons that when Strange... now, in this graphic novel, Strange is racing a 63 Stingray. And when he crashes that and severely mangles his hands, Dr. West is one of the people that is responsible for trying to help him put himself back to... like, his hands back together.
And he feels he fails at it.
Well, he feels at first he did the best that he could do, but clearly Doctor Strange considers him a moron, and you know he could have done it so much better.
Once again, arrogant.
Yes.
Character. I want to discuss this now, but I'm sure in the movie portion we're going to discuss that more. So I'm just skipping the whole true, real, deep discussion on his origins now. But I think pointing out his origins was an important part for the whole thing of the elixir that he had too. Right. Because to show that, you know, he probably would have just chosen certain things with the elixir prior to him becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, prior to him having all this responsibility.
Now remember, West is not working by himself.
Oh, yes.
So remember that Dr. West is not working alone. He's actually working for an organization called Timely.
And he also is able to wield magical powers as well, because he went to the Ancient One.
Yes, he dabbled in the dark arts.
Well, in the arts. So he's also able to wield magic as well, but he tried to use it to heal people in medicine and stuff like that, and that kind of backfired. So
yes, he had one patient that, and we won't, you can read it, but he had one patient that it went
terribly wrong.
Terribly wrong, so yes.
So we're not going to discuss the final part of this or conclude with, you know, what choices Doctor Strange did make and how it ends, because I think that we're going to leave that out for you as the fans too.
We just kind of wanted to set the story up for you.
And discuss the themes that were there.
There's that amazing theme of like Zenger had mentioned earlier, of the whole save
the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Right. So it's a really cool struggle that he has to go through, and it goes all the way to pretty much the end of the comic when he finally makes a decision about something. And we said, he has many oaths that he's taken too, so that's where the name comes from. He's taken many different oaths to protect on many different levels humanity. And one thing I did like to mention, that there is a fight with Dr. West and Dr. Strange. And I like that they bring in some of the ancient relics and stuff. Yes. And they have Sands of Nasanti. Yes. Which will null and void magic for a certain amount of time. So it's kind of interesting the way
how that
he
worked
uses
into the fight.
And it works it into the fight. So that was really neat too. I think it's really cool too.
All right, so now that we're done with the read this portion, hopefully you guys will like it. Like we've always
Please check it out. It's great.
Check it out. Let us know what you think of it too. Yeah. if you're not into Doctor Strange, this is a great one to get.
Yes.
If you're, not a fan of it afterward, or like, oh, I'm not interested in Doctor Strange, it's still a great story.
Yeah, and like we said, it's on its own. So
yes,
you can just read it.
It's standalone. You don't have to be completely up to date on what's going on with Strange or anything like that. Just know that he can do magic. Is basically what you have to know going into it.
Magic and the themes of saving a friend and all that.
Or
good
saving
stuff.
the world.
Yes, exactly.
So. Now we're going to get into Watch This. So we decided to do this as a team-up thing with the Read This of The Oath and Watch This
of Doctor Strange.
Now, are these similar? Yes.
There are parts that
are similar, which we will discuss quickly, but you don't have to read one to get the other or vice versa. It's just, it has parts that you'd be really like, oh, cool, or vice versa.
And I'll take lead on this.
Go for it.
So, of course, one big similarity is the origin.
Yes, as the origin.
They obviously hit on him, arrogant person that has a God complex.
Yes.
Once again, we're having the themes of God complex here. And he gets in a horrible car accident, just like the graphic novel.
And is humbled by this whole thing because he can't.
Well, he's angry first. He definitely has issues with blame. He has the issues of blaming people, and the same thing. His hands are mangled, but this goes into more of how he becomes Doctor Strange versus jumping right into he's already the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah. I mean, the movie did a great job, and I'm just going to kind of discuss. I mean, if you want to watch it, definitely go to watch. I don't think we're going to discuss the entire plot in this.
No.
But I know that. Yeah. I mean, how do you feel this holds up against the rest of the Marvel universe as a movie?
I mean, I love magic. Mm-hmm. Even when I play video games, I prefer a mage. So magic stuff holds dear to my heart. So I'm happy to finally see some characters with magic.
Now, how do you think it worked in the universe? I mean, this is a universe that's been established with science, with technically, I guess, aliens and gods to an extent, with Thor and, the Chitauri and Thanos and everything that goes on in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Correct. So, and he seems to be the type of person that isn't aware of this stuff.
Doctor Strange.
Yes. So, I don't know, how well it works with the rest of the universe?
Well, I think Wong actually does a great explanation of it in the movie. He explains that, the Avengers protect the Earth from, physical threats. We protect it from magical ones. So they're both protecting the Earth, but they're working on different levels, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Because you don't really see them using magic to affect any non-magic wielders.
Right, yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. They're not very, let's go out and, mess with a ton of people who don't do magic.
So are we going to say, if we have Doctor Strange versus Superman, Superman's going to get his butt kicked? Just saying. Sorry.
You're really challenging me right now not to have to go on a rant about the different
I know. That's another day. I apologize. I apologize.
Okay, anyways. And
so there's... So he gets there and he starts learning stuff and he's like, holy crap, there's all this whole nother world I had no idea about. But he's desperate.
But
keep in mind, this guy's...
At the same time, us as the viewers are also learning that there's this whole other dimension too. So I thought that, as someone who's seen all the Marvel movies... You're
taking the journey with him.
Exactly. And I thought they did a great job with that it's not just him taking a journey, it's us taking a journey into how magic will work in the Marvel universe. Yep. So hats off to the writing or whoever was involved with doing it, because I took that away from it personally.
Well, and this is quippy. This is definitely a quippy one.
Oh, yes. They have a lot of...
Yes. Like that conversation, there's a conversation with Wong and Doctor Strange in the library that it cracks me up. Just their little back and forth.
It's and I don't mind that in movies.
Oh, no,
in comic book movies. It works because it's fun. It's the character. They're in a comic book movie.
Well, and it makes sense with his character.
It does.
Yes. And so we're not going to get into too details about like everything else, but so if you're at all familiar with Doctor Strange, whether you've watched and read the movie, read
comics or watched the movie,
comics or watched the movie, even if you're not very familiar with him, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with his red cape, right?
The Cloak of Levitation.
Yes. So they have that in the movie,
which that's very sentient.
Yeah, and we won't. Like I said, we're not going to go beat for beat, but I just wanted to point out that the way he gets it in the movie is fantastic.
I thought it was one of the best portrayals of a character in the movie.
It was great. And then, of course, you cannot not mention the Eye of Agamotto.
Well, before you get to that, I just wanted to mention a similarity between The Oath and the movie. Mm-hmm. There is a scene where he is injured, similarly to in The Oath, and while he kind of passes out and she freaks out, and he's able to come out in his astral form and kind of almost exactly the same as The Oath kind of pop in and backseat surgeoning.
Yes, that is a similar scene from the different situation.
Yes, but it obviously it knew exactly what it took from.
It looks like they inspired that scene from The Oath.
And the fight scene that happens during that, which I'm not going to talk really too much about that, because that was actually a really cool way they did a fight scene on the astral plane. Right.
So basically, there's some fights.
Well, you were talking about the Eye of Agamotto.
Well, yeah, I was just saying that is it's like it's a brooch type thing. It's on a pendant.
Well, it's something that if you're familiar with Doctor Strange,
you have seen this.
He uses it in The Oath, but it works a little differently in the movie because, drum roll, it's one of the Infinity Stones.
Yes.
The Time Stone.
Yes.
Which I thought that was a great way, because...
Well, to kind of tie in.
Here's the thing. I feel like one of my issues with Civil War was I felt like it was progressing. It did more to progress the overall universe's story as opposed to progressing a character story at times. Okay. This, I think, did enough to progress the universe in a way, but not have to take and pull you away from the storyline.
Well, I mean, that's the difference, though, between having a solo movie versus a team movie.
Well, exactly.
I mean, so it's kind of, but I see what you're saying, though. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it could have been more heavy-handed with that. It could have really,
So there's and we'll move on, but there's there's this battle for the world, basically. There are three sanctums that basically
the London, the Hong Kong, and the New York sanctum.
Correct.
Sanctum Sanctorum. Which, if you're familiar with Doctor Strange, you are aware of them. Right. It's basically his home base.
So they have, these sorcerers that are protecting the three sanctums. Mm-hmm. And so the main battle at the end is, there's some stuff going on at the sanctums. And this big baddie, Dormammu, which you will hear briefly in The Oath, he is wanting to basically, come and take our world because of Caecilius.
Because it's Earth, and for some reason
everyone wants
to take over
Yes,
Earth.
but
Caecilius is his little minion he has that he's guaranteed power to.
And I don't know how much in depth you want to go with this, and we might just leave it spoiler free for this part of it. But there is a big thing that you learn that is similar between the Ancient One, which is who trains Doctor Strange.
And she is also the Sorcerer Supreme at that moment.
At that moment. And Caecilius.
Yes.
They share a similar
trait, theme,
something
power.
That they did, exactly. So there is a big struggle theme later, ending portion of the movie to the end of, like I said, I don't know how much you want to, if you want to leave that unspoiled. And Doctor Strange has to make a choice. Is he going to stick to the laws of nature?
Or break them.
Yes. Yes. So there's a really cool, very Doctor Strangey kind of mind trick thing that he does that I thought was great using the eye.
Eye of Agamotto.
Exactly. So I don't know how in depth do you want to go, Zenger, for that?
I think that's good enough. I mean,
Okay.
if someone hasn't seen it, I mean, you don't want to really talk about the ending too much.
But I thought it was very well done.
Yes, it is a very interesting twist, and if you like paradoxes, it's a fun little mind thing.
Yeah, like when they go into the mirror world or
Well,
mirror
the
universe.
mirror dimension's interesting
dimension,
because a lot of people have been like, "Oh, well, this is just Inception,
right,
for Marvel," and it's like it's similar in the sense of yes, there's bending of reality, but it's done in a different way, and they do a really interesting job with it.
And it's they point out it's where a lot of sorcerers go to train,
exactly,
because it can affect
the real world.
So I thought that was interesting.
So that was interesting. The whole thing where she opens his mind was really cool. I thought that was an awesome scene to see just how many worlds there are, and they do elaborate on the fact there is a multiverse, but they don't go really into that. So I'm kind of curious on what they mean by that. Is there multiple Doctor Stranges? Is there multiple Thors?
Right.
You know, that's the thing that it doesn't really dive into in the movie. And sorry if that's a spoiler thing, but it's really, I guess in the movie, it's really not super important that there is a multiverse. It's just you understand that one exists, but you don't know how it works.
Right.
I know that a few people have pointed out that, you know, this story is just the same as kind of Iron Man or, you know, stuff like that, to where it's someone who's arrogant, who, you know, has a ton of money and doesn't know and has to be humbled.
But I feel like Doctor Strange is more humbled than Iron Man.
Well, here's the interesting thing. A lot of the original character stories are like that.
Yeah.
Thor is technically like that. If you read his original comics, is the same thing. He was an arrogant.
Well, you get it from the movies too.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. It's kind of, that was a very easy character trope to do back when they were creating the original ones. So of course it carries over to these. Do I mind it? No. It works for each movie, I think, on its own. So that's the thing. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I would definitely rank it in my more top of my Marvel list. I mean, Ant-Man did a really good job, and they're doing a great job with these movies still. Mm-hmm. And they definitely set up for the next Marvel movie. They set up for Thor Ragnarok, okay? I'm just going to say that. There's a huge setup for that in here. So if you're not...
Oh, are you talking about the mid-credit?
All right, spoiler alert and spoiler ahead. It is pointed out that Thor comes to Strange at some point in the Ragnarok story, so I'm assuming they're taking place around the same time.
Yes.
But an interesting thing is he is wearing the gloves.
Yes, he is.
He is wearing his classic yellow gloves, and
I didn't see cheetah print on the end though.
It didn't have it high enough up.
That's true.
So, I mean, it could have still had cheetah print on the end of them.
That's true.
But he comes to him basically, you know, trying to help him find Odin. So I guess that's going to be tackled in the Thor Ragnarok story.
Right.
So we'll definitely get to see some Doctor Strange in that.
Yes,
and obviously he's going to be involved in the Infinity War because he's wielding one of the
stones.
One of the stones.
The Time Stone.
Yes. So overall, I think that this was a phenomenal movie by Marvel. What are your final thoughts on it?
I absolutely loved it. Like I said, I like to see more magic, so it's great to...
And I think they did a great job with, as I said earlier, I'm sorry I'm beating a dead horse with this. It was done well, and it basically said, yes, it's existed the whole time, but here's why you haven't really seen it.
And I love the flow.
It
flowed really well for me. There's some movies, and I don't like to dog things, so there's some comic book movies recently that I've watched that really, really dragged. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just like, holy crap, I've only been watching this for an hour, or whatever the case may be. But this one, I enjoyed it the whole time, and when it was done, I was like, oh, is it done already? So I loved the timing and the flow of the movie. It was really well done. It had just enough of the origin story. So, of course, they had to always kind of insert that little love story with him and Christine, which I don't think necessarily had to be in there. But, of course, then you wouldn't have that fun little scene, you know, where she's patching people up and that sort of thing. So
yeah. So, overall, definitely, if you've seen other Marvel movies, see this one.
Yes.
If you haven't seen other Marvel movies, you can probably, once again, watch this one on its own and be fine.
I agree.
Because it is very self-contained to an extent. There is stuff that kind of broadens it out a little bit.
Well, there's comments that are made throughout the movie that if you've seen other stuff, you're enjoyed, it's enjoyable because you're like, oh, I know what they're talking about.
Bingo.
But if you haven't, then it's perfectly fine too.
All right, I guess it's time for the announcement.
Okay.
And I, with a very heavy heart, am saying that this is the last Read This that we are doing as a weekly thing. We have discussed it and decided that we're going to do the Read This Now.
Were you trying to be dramatic?
Yes. We're going to do the Read This Now as a separate extra podcast, like the Star Wars episodes.
Can I say why?
Yes, actually, I was going to get into that, but if you want to, go for it.
We just feel like every time we talk about comic books,
it's turned into a Read
This, and it's not fair to all the comic book fans out there and all the fun, interesting things that we can talk about comic books.
Like more weird stuff in comics. We're working on a part 2 of that, and trust me, oh man.
Yeah, and when we're limited to just doing Read This,
which we don't mind doing.
Oh, I love doing them, but we just figure not everybody maybe want to do it.
So that's the other thing is we're going to make the Read This something that's probably going to be at the end of every month. Mm-hmm. We're going to try to have it to be at the end of the month. So last week or 2 of the month, we'll have a Read This pop up. The other reason we want to do that is that frees us up to do maybe possibly more interviews with creators and artists and stuff like that.
Yes.
So that frees us up for that. It also frees us up for the weekly stuff, as Ellie did state, to do more broader topics from time to time. Mm-hmm. Another very important thing that having it be its own thing is if you've listened to our Star Wars episodes are discussing the Star Wars movies, and that's all we do. There's no new stuff. There's no stuff like that. We just straight discuss the topic at hand. We love doing the news stuff, but the news stuff can sometimes take, 15 to 20 minutes sometimes if it's a heavy week of us discussing news topics, or if I have some theory, or if you want to discuss something.
Yes.
If you want to be able to just tune in just for us discussing a graphic novel, we want to be able to have you be able to tune in
just do that.
Just for that discussion.
Yep.
You don't have to wade through us talking about what's going on right now in comic and nerd and whatever stuff like that. You can just tune in and we start the discussion right into
like Star Wars.
Exactly. Yes. So that's why we wanted to do this. It's something for you guys. It's something for us. So hopefully, like I said, we will be announcing our next one very shortly. So look forward to that, and like I said, hopefully, you guys are enjoying this stuff, because we love discussing these comics and discussing the graphic novels.
Yes.
And trust me, there's plenty that we have in our collection, and there's plenty that we can get. So if there's any you want us to try out, let us know, and we'll see if we can definitely fit them in.
I would love to take suggestions.
So, and also on movies, too. I mean, we're doing the Star Wars one right now, so, I mean, obviously you've got that. But if there's a movie you want us to discuss, that we can do on our weekly episode now.
Or again, like we did a combo. We did the read and the watch. There's other comic books
that obviously inspired
have had either movies or TV shows.
Exactly.
We could do a combo where we kind of discuss both. So just let us know what you'd be interested in. We'd love to hear it.
If you have a suggestion, what would be some of the best places to leave said suggestion?
Well, you could tweet us.
At Zeng This. You could email us.
zengthis@gmail.com.
And if you want to become a fan of ours, you can also join our Facebook page as well.
Zeng This.
And some of the best ways to listen to us are...
SoundCloud, Zeng This.
You can also listen to us on iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate that. And that helps out the podcast more than you'll ever know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
stars. We're on Stitcher, and we're also on Tuned In and Google Play. So you can check us out on those as well if Apple products aren't your thing. You can find us on Instagram at Zeng This Podcast. You can find us playing some games on twitch.tv/Zeng This. And if you want to help contribute to the podcast, you can always go to
patreon.com/Zeng This.
And as always, I've been Zenger.
And I'm Ellie.
And DJ Golden Boy 89, play us out.